fucking good to me. Like right there. Those come out funny, don't they? Well, use your imagination. There's gauges there. So, anyways, that's my AVCS table. I had updated the firmware on my Adaptronic. I thought I had it set to auto download updates, but it did not. So I hit update one day, and sure enough, there was like 4 firmware updates since the last time I had done it. It's like, sweet. So I will update the new firmware. Maybe it'll address some of the issues I've been having. I had an issue where when I was in cruise, it would just stop correcting for AFR. Right around 2,500 to 2,800 RPM. And light load, just cruising down the highway. Like 20, 30 seconds, O2 sensor would report that it was lean. It was running like 16 to 1, but there was 0 correction. I was getting annoyed with that, and I was hoping that was something they would figure out because it had started happening a couple firmware updates ago. And so I saw a new firmware update. I was like, sweet, loading that. So I load the firmware update, and everything was worse. The car would barely idle. Sometimes when idle at all, it would just oscillate. Rah, 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 rah. AFR's just swinging everywhere. Idle speed's going up 16 to 200, and the car's barely running, and then it would just die. If I put gas in it and I started it, a hot restart, it would just oscillate like crazy all over the place. If I started it cold, it'd be fine until the temp got to around 140 or 150, and then it would just start oscillating wildly. So I put a little thread out on the Adaptronic help forum, and I said, hey guys, I have this problem with the latest firmware. Idle's acting funny, I told them the stuff that was going on, told them that it was perfect, and then I updated the firmware, and then that idle thing started happening. And I got like 6 people saying, I haven't had a problem, you were just doing it wrong. But not a single one of them had any advice, right? Now this is the help forum. This is not the dick swinging forum, right? This is the help forum. You go there for help, and the people on the forum should be there trying to help. Hey man, maybe you have this set too high. Maybe this is set too low. Maybe the firmware changed the percentages on the idle control, and you're still on the old percentages, and so now it's way too much. Maybe anything other than I haven't had a problem, you're fucking doing it wrong, right? And so multiple times I said, look guys, like I had no issues, firmware change, issues. And I don't know who that is. I'm gonna ignore that. Firmware change, issues. And still nothing, just, you're doing it wrong. One of the guys who I've asked for help before, the reason I made my other video about the I never had a problem guy, Sean from Tuned by Sean or whatever it is, he goes in there and says, I haven't had a problem either, like he always fucking says. And so I just said, you're a fucking idiot. And I PM'd him and I said, hey dude, fuck you. Seriously, fuck you. Like, every time I have an issue, you always say I'm doing it wrong, and every time it has turned out to be a hardware issue or a firmware issue. Every time. Not a single fucking time was it my fault. So like 5 times now when I report a problem, he's like, you're just doing it wrong. But I mean, you'd think by now he'd fucking get a clue, right? So I told him to fuck off. I blocked him and everything. Just told him he was oh no, before I blocked him though, he did say, well see, the reason you're having this issue is because your base duty cycle is too high on your idle control, and it's activating map anticipation or map prediction, and the ECU is going into open loop. Wrong. First off, I'm not drive-by-wire, so the throttle plate's not moving like that, like he said. And 2, it wasn't idle, it was in cruise. I was having this other issue and everything. So he just came up with all these fucking assumptions, right? Now, in that instance, it was almost like he was trying to help. But it was like, well, the reason you're having the problem is because of this, right? Which is all fucking assumptions, because he was completely fucking wrong. And yet, he didn't make any attempt to help in the help forum, right? Are you seeing my issue with that? So, finally, when he started pulling his fucking, oh, well, it's actually this bullshit, which it wasn't, I told him to go fuck himself and blocked him. So, nobody on the forum was any fucking help. The help forum was 0 fucking help. It was only guys saying that they were better than me. And one of them said, yeah, I've had no issue with that firmware or 1084. And I was like, 1084? Wait a second. I have 1082. So I hit update like 5 more times, and finally the electronic updater goes, oh yeah, hey, here's another one. Sorry, I missed it. So I got the 1084. I installed the 1084, and holy shit, all my problems are gone. Weird, right? It's almost like maybe they realized they fucked something up in 1082 and released a new firmware, 1084. And as you see by my video, there ain't a fucking oscillation to be had. Works fucking great. So, for the second time, just because you ain't had a fucking problem, doesn't mean something's not wrong with it. As I have proven yet once again. And now instead of me blowing up TurboSource for sucking, and he blow up his fucking ex-partner, the two of them separated, Sean claims it's the other guy's fault. I'm starting to think it's Sean's fault. He's kind of a dick. Fucking works great.